He kōna I purangi tēnei nā te reo irirangi o Aotearoa.
Find the spot or anywhere, to be fair. Yeah, it's just dropping off a printer. Cool. Yeah, this is how this place works.
Kia ora, nau mai haramai ki te ao hurihanga. Hello and welcome to Our Changing World, ko Concannon tēnei. The world, and New Zealand, is facing a bunch of big environmental challenges. Biodiversity loss, climate change, water quality degradation, not to mention getting a handle on our waste. And they can feel like totally overwhelming problems. But you know what? There are people across the Motu working hard in their local patch on all these issues, chipping away to try and make things just that little bit better. Today, we're calling in to the Tairāwhiti Environment Centre in Gisborne to learn about the services they provide for the community in their drop-in hub and about some of the environmental projects that they support. I had just started chatting with Steph Temple, the hub coordinator, when someone shows up with an old printer to drop off. All part of the job, says Steph.
Tairāwhiti Environment Centre basically works around three po. One of them is waste minimisation. So we have a lot of recycling schemes that are non-curbside, and so you'll have lots of people coming through with either a question or the actual material itself. So laptops, computers, cables, all of that stuff.
Batteries, soft plastic, Tetra Pak recycling. The council has the contracts, but the centre is a collection point that people can easily access. The recycle station is inside the door to the left, fringed by some computer motherboards hanging off string, like a techie-looking Christmas decoration.
The motherboards they were put up as part of Noise Vacancy, which was a Gizzy local arts kind of bringing vibrancy to the CBD. And I have seen them come through. They are considered waste, but when you look at them more clearly, they are absolutely pieces of art. They're really, really amazing. And in the other window, you had lots of plastic bag waste. So the idea was, if we're able to make this amazing motherboard, how the heck have we got this problem of plastic? You know, we should come up with a solution. Yeah, that's why they're there, but that also because we indeed take e-waste, which was part of Tech Collect and the Ministry for the Environment pilot about a couple of years ago. We have shifted such a huge amount of e-waste from Tairāwhiti because of our geography. We tend to always miss out on all those options of getting our waste out. And an old typewriter, obviously people bringing this stuff in thinking it is waste. But it isn't, because when we get our school groups through, it's really important for us to show how quickly we've evolved. And lots of our young people do not know what was before our mobile phones. So most are really drawn to the intricacies of the old first laptop in the 1980s. Alarm clock TV, which was groovy as, and then the typewriter brings back memories for many.
Above this collection of older tech and the recycling collection area is the inverted triangle of the waste minimisation hierarchy. Recycling is on there, but above it is reduce or repair or replace or reuse, which feeds into the Environment Centre's second po or pillar, education.
I will say, it's great that we can bring in our soft plastics in these bins, but really we're merely recycling, and the answer, if we want to do right by Papatūnuku, we have to start working up the chain. We have to start honing in on changing behaviours. For example, reduce, I will then turn and swivel and say, for example, your reduction could be that you start to refill. And so that's why we have very basic, eco-steel refillery, but it actually constantly is there just as an education tool. So even though it's a shop, we're talking through, this is reduction, you refill your bottles of body wash, but then higher up we're going and looking at replacing, and which sits even higher, and we're saying, if you go back to your bar of soap, you're actually doing better again. So it's with no judgment whatsoever, it's just an education tool. So it's not a huge kind of commercial entity, this shop isn't, but people do appreciate it. So it is great. Kids get it as well. Like, we'll just hold up when we do get lots of education groups through. I'll just hold up the bar of soap compared to the bottle of body wash, and they kind of get it.
So the small shop is on one side, recycling on the other, backed onto a partition behind which are a bunch of desks. Not just for the hub staff, Tairāwhiti Environment Centre acts as an umbrella organisation for a bunch of local projects. So people employed on those projects are staff here too. Past the recycling station, towards the back of this front room, is the trap library, which helps with their third pillar, biodiversity.
Yeah, a whole number of traps that are out in the community as we speak, being used by the community. And how it works is people come in, they say, like today I had someone come in and say, I have a possum, what do I do? So she took with her a possum trap she can use for 2 months, and she pays a $20 bond and then returns the trap and gets her bond back. So it's just actually getting people empowered to do that conservation work at home without it being a cost to them as well.
So we're standing in front of a shelf and there's an array of traps.
Yeah, we've got a lot of Victor rat traps, which are your very kind of user-friendly rat trap, but they'll go up to DOC 200s, which are a little bit gnarlier, and we'll walk through how to set them up, how to use them, make sure that everyone's comfortable and safe using them. And now also collaborating a little bit more with a group at council who are keen to start the urban trapping program based on the Miramar Peninsula Predator-Free 2050.
They get about 500 to 600 visitors per month, says Steph. Behind this front area, there's a bigger room used for workshops, meetings and education.
So we are walking through the hub and open up into a bigger space. To our left, I've got a frock swap rack, which is just a community rack of frocks. People always sit on clothing at home that they don't fit, and the idea was just to make it accessible to everyone. No one mans it, it's just there. Everyone knows it's there. If they need a dress for any occasion, they can just come. It was filling in a need to support, or not a need, but just picking up that there was another group trying to achieve something great, which was mental health awareness through Frocks on Friday, and we just, supported them in their kaupapa by having this rack here.
Past the frocks, the room opens out into the large education space. Enviro schools hold their meetings here. It's a national network aimed at connecting students with the environment and empowering them to take action in their local schools and communities. Enviro Schools is run by Gisborne District Council, who sublease the space.
We're constantly collaborating, so when we do have our school groups through, we are constantly making sure that they've got exposure to the front, to the hub, to Gizzy Kai Rescue, to the garden. So it's a really good backup space, and it's open to anyone in the community to use with the kaupapa of environmental protection, conservation.
The noise in the background is coming from a garage space beside the centre, which also opens into this large area. 3 people are sorting through some boxes full of food. This is where the charitable trust Gizzy Kai Rescue is based. A separate organisation, they do also work closely with the centre. Manager Lauren Beatty fills me in on their mahi.
We were set up in 2018. There was a need identified in our community that there was a lot of food going to waste, and also there was some food insecurity. So we were able to establish the organisation and tackle social and environmental problems.
So how does it work? Where does the food come from?
So we have memorandum of understanding with various retail and packhouses and orchards that they supply rescue or second grade food to us at no charge, and we were able to distribute that to groups. We have between 16 and 18 recipient community groups, and we sort and check and make sure it's safe for whānau, and we send it out via those recipient groups.
Gotcha. So this space that's next to Tairāwhiti Environment Centre is where the food arrives to, and then you do kind of the processing, repackage it and deliver it back out to those community groups?
So we have volunteer drivers that collect the food, and then the recipient groups actually come in and collect it themselves.
And where do your volunteers come from?
Our volunteers come from all parts of the community and range from 14 to about 85 years old. We're really fortunate, and there's various roles that we have developed that that lean into people's skills or what their interests are, so they can participate. Just this morning we also had a volunteer morning tea with yoga. So yeah, there's connection as well for our volunteers. So yeah, we're quite a tight little group. I just did a calculation couple of days ago, and we have 50 volunteers plus 6 board of trustees that are also volunteers. So we average around 130 voluntary hours per month, and most of our volunteer shifts are between an hour and a half long, so people can come in, they can meet each other, they sometimes go out for coffee afterwards, they do their mahi, and then they're out the door. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, as we're speaking, there's 2 volunteers behind who are sorting some boxes, shuffling some things around and organising some food. So what kind of volumes of food are we talking about? Because 16 community groups, I mean, that's a lot of different groups that are collecting kai from you.
Yeah, so since 2018, we've had over 300 tonne of rescue food processed through here. And obviously you can't see our space, but we're not much larger than a double garage.
It's a garage, yeah.
It is, but it's, fit for purpose, lined, and the floors are done. We've got a couple
with some
of
big fridges and freezers.
Yeah, a couple of commercial fridges and freezers. And the reason that we can operate in this space is because logistically the food comes in and goes out super quick, which is what needs to happen with Rescue Kai. So on a monthly basis, we process around 6,000 to 6,500 kilos of food. Yeah.
Has the demand gone up or down or stayed pretty level?
There's certainly been some real big peaks, as you can imagine, like with the events that have gone on through COVID and the weather events locally. So we've been able to help in the response to those events. We've had a part to play, and we are only one group in our community that has had a part to play, but I guess collectively and collaboratively, community in Gisborne and community organisations have rallied together.
And what would you like to see next for Gizzy Kai?
So I would just like to see us being able to pivot and respond to the community needs. Yeah, and just work with organisations and businesses to reduce food waste in our community, and also to educate around food waste. So we are fortunate enough to be in collaboration with Tairāwhiti Environment Centre to be starting to run Every Bite program. So that has been made public on the Every Bite website. So we're hoping to engage with other parts of the community to educate and bring about some behaviour change around food waste.
The Every Bite programme is a month-long education programme that you can do online or in person in a few locations around Aotearoa. It's aimed at helping people better understand and prevent food waste. Here in New Zealand, it's estimated we waste about 3 shopping trolleys of food per person per year. Gizzy Kai Rescue report on how much food they've rescued from suppliers and how much they've given out to the groups, who then pass it on to those who need it. They also do a quarterly survey with their recipient groups, plus, as a member of the Aotearoa Food Rescue Alliance, they were part of a University of Otago study about social return on investment.
The outcome of that was that for every dollar spent in food rescue organisations, there was $4.50 of social return on investment. So that's looking at the food, the environment, the impact on volunteer connection. So that was a really good measure. And I would imagine that for us here in Tairāwhiti, that return on investment would even be higher than that.
Steph and I leave Lauren and the volunteers to their mahi and head to our last stop on the tour of the centre.
We have a beautiful enclosed garden. Lots of people do not know the gardens here because we're on quite a busy stretch of road.
Oh, wow, yeah, it's quite big. It's bigger than I expected.
It is. It used to be a car park. The main idea of this garden is educational space. So when we run our workshops, which will include beekeeping, composting, worm farming, just gardening, basic gardening workshops, we do run it from this space. But it's open. The idea is for people to feel comfortable, feel safe, and just use it as a place to connect. So it does get quite a lot of use, and on Fridays it's a nice buzzy place. We only have, obviously as a not-for-profit, always a bit limited by cash, so we have a garden coordinator here only on a Friday, and then volunteers will come and support, and it's a great way of coming together.
There are a bunch of raised beds with veggies and flowers, some fruit trees along the outside, a work shed and a little greenhouse. The idea, Steph says, is to show that you can grow your own food.
And that's where it's beautiful that it sits alongside Gizzy Kai Rescue again. So you'll have rescue food coming from a retail and it will be packed in plastic. And then you can actually go again through that waste hierarchy and say, how can you not have the plastic? And then you'll basically bring people to the garden and say, you just grow your own food. It's a skill that unfortunately has been lost a little bit, but it's easy enough to grow kai and it's our way forward. So it's really great to have schools involved, kids exposed to it. Definitely a kai growing garden, but full of companion plants.
Yeah, heaps of flowers. I can see a load of
a beehive on site as well.
So many bees.
There is a beehive and a glass house that has got beautiful outlook on the beehive, which was an added bonus we didn't realise we'd created. So sometimes we have the little kids piling in here and staring through, looking out to the action of the bee box behind. Again, lots of collaboration. We had our local Polytech EIT come through with their level 4 te reo classes, doing lots of the signage, translating and actually sitting in the Rethink space, coming down once a week to have their classes here and then just adding te reo to the walls of and to the plants.
Yeah, and you've got some beautiful wall art as well.
The wall art again. So it's a probably seawalls project. Took place about 5 years ago in Gisborne, was one of the first umbrella projects for Tairāwhiti Environment Centre. So seawalls created beautiful art on the walls of the CBD. That's why we've got a seawalls mural on our wall. The other one is people working together who, like lovely ladies that had never actually joined forces, but just to create something that our whole community can enjoy. We've got some bare walls still to go, so we're collaborating, hopefully getting a local tohoi kura to put out a mural on that one as well. So you have to be creative when you're limited in funds. So it's kind of that's what happens here in this garden. A lot of it is creativity just coming together and people chipping in and helping out.
This umbrella-ing of projects is a big part of the Tairāwhiti Environment Centre's mahi. They used to lead conservation or community projects themselves, but, says Steph, they saw that what was actually needed was an organisation to support groups to run their own projects. Sam Rowland is the general manager of the centre. She was quite fresh to the role when we spoke, but eager to get stuck in.
I'm thinking about our day-to-day operations, so how we run, our people, our staff, but also strategically into the future and the role that we play in our region.
She sees the umbrella role that the centre provides for other groups as an important part of that strategy.
How we work and operate here is that we come in and sort of provide the support for these organisations. So, we handle the funding, we deal with the administration, we deal with the reporting, we have the policies and the procedures and all of that stuff that really clear the way for those groups to go and do what they do best, which is the mahi on the ground, doing the conservation work, whether it's up the coast, working on myrtle rust and amazing gorongawa techniques to heal our plants of myrtle rust, or Eastern Field Link, who are helping to build the field blue duck populations out in the gorge and have just had amazing success. And what we really try and do is support these organisations and help them if they want to then grow into an organisation that can deal with the admin side themselves or the employing staffs themselves. We support them to do that as well. So as well as doing that, I suppose what else it does is really provide this whānau connection of people that are all doing amazing work, enabling us to really achieve some great outcomes for region by being more connected, more strategic.
At the moment, the centre is acting as an umbrella for 5 projects. The Exchange Cafe, which encourages conversations about regional climate change solutions. The Wednesday Challenge, in which people choose a more sustainable way to commute to school or work on Wednesdays. Te Whakapai Ururoa, which is investigating ways to combat myrtle rust in Tairāwhiti, and a project called Y Connections. This is a national project funded by the Ministry for the Environment, run by Mountains to Sea Conservation Trust and aimed at supporting catchment groups. Dr. Sarah Boyle is the regional manager for Y Connections in Tairāwhiti. Her team are working with 7 existing catchment groups, catering to what the groups want and need.
We've been providing freshwater monitoring advice and equipment. So we've been doing the NIWA SHMAC testing kit. So that's freshwater, looking at macroinvertebrates, looking at chemistry and the physics of the water. Basically, the indicators that the catchment groups are going to find useful. So we sort of help them work out what a good baseline monitoring is looking like and what they can get out of that. We're also providing access to certain experts. So some catchment groups are really keen to restore wetlands. So we're bringing in a wetland expert, and we're going to be offering a series of workshops for the catchment groups and their leaders to come and attend. They're also interested in pest management and identifying taonga species using eDNA as well. So a variety of monitoring tools.
And what are the catchment groups kind of communicating to you that the biggest challenges that they're facing are?
I think it's been a lot of really hard mahi they've been putting into planting and fencing, and it's just been completely destroyed by the cyclone. So I think just the whole physical environment at the moment with what's going on has been a major challenge. And I think also getting the funding for planting and fencing itself is like one of the big hurdles, and because that is obviously that you're not going to do any restoration work unless you've got protection of what you're restoring. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges, I think. Yeah, and that must, I can imagine from a catchment group point of view, that must have been particularly disheartening if you've fenced off and planted, done riparian planting along a waterway, and that's then been washed out from the cyclone. It's kind of hard to pick yourself back up from that. Yeah. So there's definitely a bit of RFing involved in this project as well, as much as we can, and setting up fun community days as well as, the sciencey stuff. Just enjoy that natural environment as much as you can and learn things from it as well.
And in terms of the SHMAC testing, the water quality testing, are you then kind of pooling that data back together to collate it across the different catchment groups? So some catchment groups are wanting to keep some of that data very private, and some are happy to sort of publish. So there's different platforms that they can share that data. Part of the Y Connection project is actually developing a community-based freshwater monitoring site where that data can be stored, and that can be made private or public. That won't actually be finalised until next June. But it's definitely a really good resource for people to be putting stuff onto. But a lot of the groups have been collecting data for lots of years, and they're just doing it on their own systems.
The last project is one that started under the Centre's wings, but has very much gone on to find its own feet.
Eastern Field Link is a 30,000 hectare conservation project on the east coast of New Zealand between Gisborne and Opotiki, and it's focused on bringing back field numbers to abundance.
This is Sam Gibson. It's a really neat project with a cool story, but there's not enough time to tell you about it now. So keep an ear out for that story on next week's episode. It's a bit of a strange time for Tairāwhiti Environment Centre and for other places like them. They're part of the Environment Hub's Aotearoa Collective, which includes 22 hubs around New Zealand. Since 2000, this collective has received funding for the Ministry for the Environment through the Community Environment Fund. That fund has now been discontinued, and the money is due to run out in June 2025. Which could make things tougher, says Hub Coordinator Steph Temple. But working with the community, she's sure they can find a solution.
Environment Hub's Aotearoa is an umbrella organisation for us, and those connections have been made. We have connections with Sustainable Hawke's Bay and multiple environment centres nationally. So we all do amazing work, and we all can still connect, even though funds might, soar or drop. It actually makes no difference. Everyone is doing amazing work, and if money does fall short, then we just become more creative, and we have to find the resilience within our community to come up with an idea to keep these doors open, and that will happen. What we do is vital for connection and for kaitiakitanga. Just nationally, we all have the same drive to go forward. Like, we will strive to be there and continue to be there for our community. we just keep doing what we do well, and we're definitely in that umbrella space is a good space to be because everyone needs support, and that's what we're here for.
Thanks to Steph Temple and Sam Rowland of Tairāwhiti Environment Centre, to Lauren Beatty of Gizzy Kai Rescue, and to Dr. Sarah Boyle of Y Connections Tairāwhiti. Keep an ear out for more of Sam Gibson next week. Find and follow the Our Changing World podcast to be sure to never miss an episode. This episode was produced by me, Claire Concannon. Production help was from Ellen Rikers, and sound engineering was by William Saunders. Learn more at rnz.co.nz/OCW. Te nā koe I whakarongo mai. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Claire Concannon. Have a great week. Kia pai, te wiki.